So Jared said, how long is quality time?
I think it just depends on the person.
See?
I know.
But we can't quantify it.
You can't quantify it. You can't say, well, I spent 10. Well, I think also, what does quality time look like? See? That makes a difference too. You can't say, hey, I'm here and you're on your phone. That's not quality time.
But it's actually a brilliant question, right? And it's much more substantive of a question than initially on the surface.
Well, personally, I think quality, if you were able to give me undivided attention, that means no phone, that means no YouTube, that means no Discord, that means none of those. And you're able to give me like a solid 2 hours, solid out, even a solid hour a day, I would be happy. But half of the time you don't get that solid hour a day or solid hour and a half that's there of quality time. So if it's quality, I think you don't need as much of it if you're able to get quality time.
Now, here's where it gives me cause for pause, right?
Right.
Because it's solely predicated on what you deem enough, what you think is quality, right? Depending on what happens in that hour, you can qualify it as quality or disqualify it instantly because it's only predicated on you.
Correct.
So now that goalpost is on wheels.
But I think that's a conversation to be had to say, hey, this is what I deem quality time. And I think it leads back to the same thing. We need to communicate.
Okay. But you understand the like apprehension. Because if you determine what's good or bad in that quality time, it's almost like he may not be able to win because you can change the parameters at any given time.
That's why you start with the parameters to begin with. So there's that baseline of expectation. If I say, hey, this is what I deem quality time. No phone, no this, no that. Now, if I start adding additional things that we didn't discuss in the beginning, that is moving the goalpost. Okay. Or if there's a time that I say, hey, do I want more? I need to communicate with that with you because it needs to be agreed upon so that you are able to meet those expectations. I think it's important to make sure you are able to meet those expectations. You don't want to keep adding it, like you said, changing the goalpost so that you're never meeting the expectation and the person's never happy. That is also unfair to you. Okay. So having that standard and expectation and baseline of understanding makes sense.
Okay. Now, let me ask you. Hey, Meta, take a video. Now, let me ask you. Sex.
Yes.
Does that count as quality time?
No.
Why? It's literally the most quality time.
No, that definitely don't count as quality time. That does not count as quality time.
Let me ask my brothers. Fellas, put a 1 in the chat if sex counts as quality time.
Can you ask the ladies?
Let me ask the brothers first.
Okay, fine.
I know they're going to be logical. Put a 1 in the chat, fellas, if sex is quality time. Okay. All right, perfect. So the fellas said yes, overwhelmingly, without fail. Man. Okay, so one of the brothers put a 2. Mm-hmm. Somebody call and check on that brother. His wife would be sitting right next to him. All right, ladies, let us know. Is sex quality time? Put a 1 for yes, 2 for no. Let's see. Let's wait on it. You can see it?
Yeah, I'm looking.
One for yes, 2 for no.
Overwhelmingly 2.
Okay. Well, why? Why is it such a discrepancy?
It just shows where the disconnect is with men and women in general of what you guys consider quality time and what we wouldn't consider quality time.
Okay. So you guys, the ladies overwhelmingly say yes. Shout Correct. Out to Crimson. It's a component. What if we have 30 minutes of sex and then 30 minutes of Netflix or quality time, playing Scrabble or whatever the case is?
I just feel like for me, I rather not. I rather have that whole hour of you and I think 30 minutes is very hard to cram in, maybe having those conversations we don't get to have, those in-depth things, to be able to do it within 30 minutes. I feel like sex is dessert, it's the extra, it's the greatness of it. You love it. But I still want like that meat. I want the plate.
You gotta chill, man. Golly. Okay. So, all right. So why are we so separated? Like, why did all the women said 2? Why all the guys say 1? Is sex being like leveraged?
No, it shouldn't be a leverage.
Well, it's almost like if you spend quality time with me, you can get some cheeks.
No, but why can it be like, oh, let's have sex. All you get is an extra 30 minutes of me and I gotta go. Like, how's that? All you get is 30 more minutes. You better use it wisely. What do you want to do? You either talk or play Scrabble.
Wait. Okay. All right. Let me break this down.
Okay.
Because
so
it can't. All of us said 1. All the ladies said 2. How do y'all even see sex? Do y'all think that that's all we want?
Yeah. The other stuff is just like you have to do. Oh, I gotta listen to her. Oh, let me do this just so I can say it's checking boxes. Let me do this so I don't hear her mouth. Let me do that. So I don't know if you actually really want to spend time. I mean, I don't know if you don't like the person, I guess. Do you actually really want to spend time with that person?
Okay. No, but we don't mind. But it's just like sex is being given in rations.
I think it's just not a priority to you guys of like spending quality time.
And sex is not a priority to you guys?
Well, I think sex is a priority, but spending quality time is not, which is what comes with it. Like, hey, you rather give a little 30 minutes like to quality time.
Mm.
We're not saying no to sex, not saying no, we shouldn't be having it, not saying we shouldn't have a sexy, like a healthy sex life, but also we want that quality time. And I don't think that you guys necessarily want that quality time.
Do you think that we like hanging out with y'all?
Sometimes
doesn't apply.
I know. Majority of the time, I think no. Because sometimes I think what happens is life spills over. Mm-hmm. And when life spills over, the nagging, this, that, at the end of the day, you probably don't want to spend time with your wife. You don't want to spend time.
What could you guys possibly change that would make it more fun to hang out with y'all?
I think it's more of like, what can the men change to make it so that we're able to not do X, Y, and Z, the nagging and that and this and that, so that we can enjoy that time.
Let me ask you a question. What do you think y'all can change to make y'all more fun?
What can we change?
Yeah. I'll answer for the guy. I can try to answer.
I think we try to change in general.
Come on, man.
I don't see how we can change.
Huh?
I don't see it.
Do you think that you guys nag? Is that a part of your nature?
I think you guys consider it nagging. No matter what way we come to try to communicate and things of that nature, I think no matter what, it's considered nagging. So even if we're trying to change it, I don't think that you'll hear it any differently.
That's because it's probably nagging. That's why.
No, it's not nagging.
We hear it's nagging because it's nagging. We don't hear it's not nagging because we want it to be nagging.
Okay, then how is it approached so that you will hear it not nagging?
That's the thing. If it's nagging, we're going to call it nagging.
But give me a way so that that's what I say. Like, give me the information on how you want to receive it so that you can hear what I'm saying without it being nagging.
Mm-hmm.
Communication.
Hey, we can't Here it is not nagging because it's nagging. That's why.
Well, tell me how to tell you, baby.
Well, so here's the thing. There's things that y'all just bring up that you really don't have to. It's like, yo, it's a toilet seat. Put it down. Right? We don't chronically leave it up. But the one time we leave it up, you left the toilet seat up. I fell in. I'm like, are you going in the bathroom blindfolded? Who don't look down at the toilet before they sit?
But
Grown up?
But you think it's the first time. It's probably been the 10th time that we put it down. And we had not said anything those other times. So you don't even think about it. You're just going. You're just going and you're just living. And then finally, when I bring it up, you're like, oh, why are you nagging? Well, because I dealt with it 9-10 times and let it slide and then put it down. So how can I?
But that's not actually
baby,
true.
that is the truth. That's what happens.
The first time.
It's not the first time, honey. It's the first time we brought it to your attention. See, that doesn't mean that's not happening. You leave the toothbrush and I had to change the way I even bought toothpaste to accommodate you. And even so, it still doesn't work. But you wouldn't even know half the time. You wouldn't know. Baby, you wouldn't know.
Me?
Yeah, you, baby. You wouldn't even know.
I ate a whole thing of toothpaste and lotion.
I'm not talking about the kids. I'm talking about you. This is what happens all the time. Things happen in this house and they blame the kids and it be him too. He is my 5th kid. 6. Wait, how many we got? 5, 6, 7, all these kids that we got here. Depending on how many's here. He sometimes becomes the number whatever kid, okay?
Come on, man.
Baby.
They get hold on.
Baby,
hold on.
Please.
It's a tangent. They get to eat lotion, eat toothpaste. They get the shit in diapers, and you gotta change them. And all I do is I don't put the cap on. Now I'm the villain.
Baby, it's not just a little this, a little that. It's like what happens is a little this, little that, and that adds up, baby.
Listen.
That's. Oh, my son does not listen.
So, all right. So you're saying that it's not the first time.
No,
you were saying that you guys have this window. So after the 10th time, you guys are finally saying something.
Yep, and you think it's your first time, but by then it's been the 10th time.
I don't believe it.
I do, baby.
I think
you be leaving your clothes on the floor all the time, and I'm like, pick it up. Pick it up. And then sometimes I even play a game to see how long it'll stay there until you do something. Just a game. So I'm really trying not to nag. But sometimes the game goes so long that I have no choice but to say something. What do I do?
What y'all think, fellas?
What do I do? Tell me.
Hey, fellas,
I don't want to say anything.
Hey, fellas, what y'all think? So do you think it is like the 5th or 6th time before they say something? Or do y'all think it's the first time and they say something? We got to be honest, fellas. What y'all think? We be... Chris said this the last... Chris said this the last White Black episode. Okay. So...
Can we ask the ladies, baby? You always asking the men. What about my ladies? I know. You took a breath.
Okay, so I think we... All right, so the fellas is kind of saying...
What are they saying?
They saying it's the first time, but it's mixed. I think the brothers kind of agree. That y'all probably wait a little bit. Okay, I can kind of see like they laughing through the shit, but it seems like it's the first time quite often. Right. And I think that's a hairy game to why did I say that? That's a dangerous game, right? Because now if I say you just complaining about nothing when you waited the 20th time, right? Just hypothetically speaking.
Yeah.
Now when both people start playing that game, now it's tit for tat. Now it's like, okay, I'm gonna write it down, take a picture every single time you do something. And then what happens?
I think that's when, yeah. I mean, I've seen it where someone's like, hey, you're complaining that I don't do X, Y, and Z. And then you're like, okay, I do what you were asking me for. But then you don't contribute to what you're asking for. You want the house clean, but then you're the one not helping keep it clean. And so then I think what happens is sometimes maybe on each side where resentment is building because you're annoyed because it seems like you're bringing it up, and then the other person is annoyed because it's like, I waited 10 times, I've been doing these things, I'm trying to get to talk to you about this and you're not hearing me. So resentment builds, especially when you're unable to have that communication and us come and work in the middle to understand each other.
Okay. All right. So real quick, because one of the brothers, Ali, was popping, said that my mic don't sound crisp. But they said it sounds good. But that's the Ali, you're not the first one that said it, but then they said I'm good again. So does it sound like I'm speaking through her mic? Does it sound like I'm speaking through my mic? Y'all let me know real quick. Just real quick. Okay. All right. It probably don't sound maybe like my official mic. See, he's saying it's not right. Okay. That's what it is. Her mic sounds better, right? Yeah, so I only have one condenser. She got she got one, we only got one condenser. So she has the condenser on hers, so it's more crisp, essentially. But I think mine, comparatively, hers probably sounds better. Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay. All right, cool. We'll keep it cooking. Maybe I'll get another condenser.
That's what it sounds like.
Although Chris said this might be the last time. I appreciate it, Ali. Okay. All right. I'll stay a little closer too. All right, cool. I thank you. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, she got a condenser on it. I just never thought to get two, No. So, where were we?
Resentment is building on either side because you hear it as nagging and we're hearing it as trying to be the great wife that we are.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's definitely a medium, right? I think seemingly what happens is we assume, all right, cool. Thank Ali. I'm gonna stay like closer. Okay. Yeah, so essentially there has to be a medium, right? I think this is where empathy comes in, right? I think oftentimes when we start to build that resentment, when we get familiarity breeds contempt too, right? People start to take each other for granted.
Agreed.
Right? So now everything you hear is bullshit. You will almost like we start to assume the worst. We assume that this person has a ill intention or they just start in trouble, right? As opposed to being like, oh, word, okay, my fault. Our reply would be like, damn, you always complaining, right? I think that there should be a level of empathy, while at the same time accountability.
Yeah.
So there are times where it's nagging and we should call it out, Yeah. And when it's not, it's not.
Yeah, agreed.
Right? We should be able to make the delineation between the two, right? And at the same time, if I call it, hey, babe, all right, come on now. You're doing a little bit too much. Do you think women should be able to step back and say, okay, I might be bugging?
Yeah, I agree. I think on both sides. But I think it's more of an openness to listen to the other person. And I think at the end of the day, long-term relationships, marriages, it takes work and it's hard. And because of that, like there is those times where you actually need a hard reset to be able to stop and not have this, oh, she's just nagging, or, oh, he's just doing this again, to really be able to have a hard reset, really stop and listen to what each other needs so that we can give it to them. Because also our needs change within time. Things change over time. And I think sometimes we lack that wanting to understand and wanting to do for each other because we're just so in the motions of day to day and so annoyed by the other person that you don't get to have that empathy for that other person anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what often happens, right?
What?
We go out in the earth and seemingly are pretty compliant. This is like one of the main, because we're talking about don't listen to women, right? But what's really about is overall communication.
Yeah.
So oftentimes we'll be compliant with a boss, with someone who the hierarchy,
Mm-hmm.
even people under us will have better decorum.
Yeah.
And then when we get in our houses or around our people that we actually love and will kill and die for,
Mm-hmm.
we seem to lack that. You know what I mean? In terms of those really, truly interpersonal relationships. What you think about that sentiment?
Yeah, I agree.
You know, it's often argued like she'll acquiesce to her boss, but when you say, "Hey, I need submission," which is a buzzword,
Mm-hmm.
it seems to be a lot of pushback. What you think about that?
I think that sometimes what it looks like is pushback is just passion and saying like, I really care about what this is happening, because with my boss, I can kind of care less what happens in this. It's like, all right, it's my boss. It's just slightly a livelihood. It's whatever. But when I'm with my person, this is like this, you're making these decisions, you're leading. And again, I just want you to kind of like hear me and understand where I'm coming from. I think that's honestly what women want to be known. Like, we'll submit. We just want you to understand and be heard. That's it.
Okay. So submission, you think women will as long as you hear them out.
Yeah.
But this seems like the boss gets a little bit better experience. So it's almost like, well, shoot, if he's getting a better experience, fake it with me. What do you think about that?
To answer the question, it's
Okay.
like it may seemingly say so about that, but that's because there's no care or passion behind it. There's no emotion. You're like, okay, it is whatever. So do you want me not to care about what's happening in my household and what's happening all the time and just say, okay, do whatever it is? I mean, also sometimes you would say the same thing with men. Oh, you're able to listen to X, Y, and Z and this and that, and that's at your job, but you won't even listen to your wife. How does that work?
Okay. So, okay, before we flip it around, so I guess because I want you to understand the sentiments that men have. I'm not saying all.
Yeah.
But we've had these conversations several times, right?
So are you saying some if you're not saying all?
I'm saying the majority.
Okay.
So what about that passion seems to, because you characterize it as passion. So I'm saying, okay, passion.
Yeah.
Comes with a level of disrespect that the boss doesn't get though. And there's been a sentiment that's been shared before, which I think the majority of men seemingly agree, that men see respect as love. So if you disrespect us, you can't love us in that same instance.
I think sometimes with disrespect, it's also like that moving of the goalposts. What does me speaking to you passionately, is that disrespectful? Me going like, hey, I really care about what's going on and using my hands, is that disrespectful? What is deemed disrespectful? And if you also know what my intentions are, my intentions is never to disrespect you. My intention is just to get my point across for me to be heard. Why are you taking it as disrespect when you know I wouldn't do that?
How do we know?
Well, I would hope you know who your partner is. I hope you would know.
Well, we don't have partners.
Well, when I say partner, I'm talking about whoever. I don't want to say just wife when some people are not wives. There are girlfriends.
Everybody.
So I'm speaking to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Not partner as in.
I understand. Yeah, speaking to the masses, right?
Yeah.
Because if you say partner, you can include more people.
Yeah, I'm trying to be inclusive of everybody.
Not husband or wife.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's solid. That's solid. So, dang. So you think that men are taking things of disrespect because of what reason? We want to, we sensitive, or is it actually disrespectful?
Sensitive. And I think women understand that men are sensitive and we have to be able to teeter. Like, I don't think men like to hear this, but it is an ego thing. Like, there is an ego that happens with men, and we have to be able to totter around that. And sometimes we're not even trying to. We're just trying to get this point across, but somehow we have to figure out a way that is so palatable where it's not really disrespectful. You're just saying like, maybe you disagree with what I say. And you're like, how dare you disrespect me because I'm disagreeing with you? And that's not really disagreeing. It's like, how dare you do that? And it's like, no, honey, I'm not. I'm just letting you know from my point of view. I'm never trying to disrespect you, but maybe you just can't hear it because you don't want to hear it. And it's like, how dare you? And so now people or men are taking it as disrespect. Oh, she is disrespectful. Look at her. She's doing this again. And it's like, no, it's not disrespect. We're just trying to let you know. And maybe we are coming out passionate.
Yeah.
And I do think women can work on that of how they are relaying information so it does become more palatable. But understanding that the underlining, if you're saying, for example, maybe we're going back and forth and maybe a curse word comes out, you're not trying to curse at me. I know your intentions that in that moment is what you felt. And so you're not really trying to direct that at me.
Okay, I see. So yeah, in conversation, people become passionate. It doesn't automatically mean their intention is to be disrespectful.
Exactly.
You think that things are taken as such because of how it's being delivered.
Or maybe not liking what they're saying. Those things.
And should that be given a level of credence though? So if how you're delivering information, how you're talking, how you're going about it, it's being perceived or received as disrespect. Does that woman in that instance, as we're talking about, need to take a step back and look at how she's giving this information?
Yeah, of course. Okay. I think it's always room for improvement.
Okay. But well, I guess because this is one thing, because you said her intention is good.
And I think that's the bottom line, is knowing that intention is good. That doesn't mean that there's never room for improvement. There's always room for improvement. That's why I said, hey, when saying that, it could come off passionately. We could work on that. But at the same time, while that is being worked on, that my intentions is never to disrespect you. I'm just have more work to do personally of how to communicate it on how you can receive it more in a palatable way. Because that's what the goal is for you to be able to receive that information in the way that you can receive it. And sometimes I'm not giving it in the way that you can receive it. And so we have to work on how that works. And what works for one person does not work for the other person. Okay. And so how you may be giving the information to me, I don't like it received that way, but you like it received that way. So us really figuring out how the other person is able to receive that information in a palatable way so we can get our point across.
Okay. Yeah, I think I hope that that's the case. But what I think is actual is that, as an example, I only mostly care about our community. It's like the men in our community have to prove that they're the leader, prove that they should be in leadership. And so the respect level isn't assumed. And with that boss, the compliance is there because you see the boss as over you. But when our women get home, they don't see that man as the head of her. They see him as adjacent, next to, parallel, or even beneath, maybe even depending on his industry, depending on his education level, depending on his earnings. Right. I've heard, it's said, salute to Asia, if she make more money, she get the big piece of chicken, even though he weigh 50 pounds more than her.
I don't even know why she would want the big piece of chicken. She can't even finish the big piece of hungry, chicken. No, she can't even finish the big piece of chicken.
But what do you think, though? Do you think that sentiment is more valid than just it being a misunderstanding?
I do think that sentiment is valid to a certain extent.
What you mean?
Can you ask the question one more time, actually?
Yeah. Do you think it's because she actually don't see that man as a leader? She see him as a partner, 50-50, adjacent to her, parallel. They got the same amount of say. See, the boss, there's a hierarchy that's clear. Yeah. When she gets home, that hierarchy is not so clear. And therefore, the questioning, the disrespect, the disregard, the lack of submission is because she sees her as absolutely equal to that man in all things.
No.
Not saying she's less valuable, but equal in terms of leadership.
No, I think it goes back to just wanting to be heard and understood.
Okay.
And I think that's what happens is like, I can't be heard and understood in this job There's expectations, there's rules, there's really not room for argument or anything with the boss, because I know what my job is and I know what it is. When we do come into our relationship, what we're asking for, what we thought was outlined, is, can you hear me? Can you listen to me? Can you at least say that you understood what's happening? And sometimes as a leader, it's like, I don't want to hear what you got to say. I'm leading. Just follow. And so what we're asking for is not happening, and we become frustrated. How else can we tell you?
But
hey, listen to me. I just want to be included. Just let me know so you can make your decision.
But you making demands now of the leader, but you don't do that at work. Even when you disagree with your boss, oftentimes people comply. Like if the boss opens the forum to say, hey, anybody got questions, comments, or concerns, people may voice, right? But even though they disagree, they still do the job, right? A directive will be sent out, and then they'll do said directive, right? At home, it seems like everything's gonna be questioned, right? And then that's when the discrepancy, and that's what can be frustrating.
I understand what you're saying would be frustrating. That you think that your wife is acquiescing to some man and not giving struggles or not doing pushback or any of that.
Gender the boss.
Well, or to a hierarchy.
But go ahead. I'm just saying we didn't specifically put a gender on it.
Okay, which is fine. Which I'm saying is whoever is the hierarchy of leadership. What we're asking for is to be able to I don't care really what happens with this boss per se. I don't really care about what's going on at this job. This job, I can get another job if it don't work out. So I don't need to bring this passion that I would be bringing at home that affects my life for the rest of my life.
Okay, so I understand. So you're saying the same. That's just the overarching premise. You're invested less.
Yeah, definitely.
Know? But so here's what I will offer essentially.
Okay.
You're invested less, right? So that person, so when she's invested less at work, she's essentially less problematic at work.
Why does that have to be problematic if I'm sitting here talking to you and bringing up something that's a passion of or just
questioning
something?
Everything?
It's not necessarily right? Questioning
can be problematic. Well, but necessarily means you acknowledge both sides. So when people say necessarily, it means, well, necessarily not, but necessarily is, right? So you acknowledge that you can see it, right? Where it can be seen as problematic. If every time he's trying to make a decision, he getting question, how does that actually manifest? I guess the overarching question is, does her level of investment mean that it's more of a headache?
I think it's more, again, what you were saying is what you hear is nagging, and what you hear is this, and we're just trying to communicate. We're not trying to question your authority. We're literally just here trying to communicate, but you are hearing it as this nagging and this and that, and then wanting to compare it to something else that makes it seem like, hey, why would you do it over here, but you're doing it here? And you're like, I don't care about what's going over here. I care about here, which is why I'm maybe asking questions that you may have. Like, it's kind of like that end goal again. You're like, why do I even need to answer this question? I already know what this end goal is, and we're going to go. So just go. But I've also told you, like, hey, honey, I just want to know what's going on. And I just want to be able to be supportive. So if I know what's going on, I can. And you're like, why are you even asking me this? And so we kind of was like, oh, like, you don't want to include me. You want to do this. And you are getting frustrated because I just do as I say. And that becomes frustrating.
Yeah. For who?
It comes frustrating for us. So then you hear it as nagging.
Yeah.
Although you know what we want, we just want to be included.
So
if you just do that, we don't have to do that.
Do you think, because again, right, we got it up here in hyperbole, don't listen to women, right? But we're minding out communication, right? That's what it's all about. Everybody in the chat, salute to the 300 people that's here, right? Everybody sleep, Chris.
I just saw that.
Yo, Chris, go to sleep, bro. So should women be picking their battles? And I'm gonna use that terminology on purpose, right?
Yes.
Because the men that lead and continue to lead, they ain't getting questioned outside, right? Oftentimes these men are in leadership roles, right? They have KPIs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Key performance indicators that they have to meet, different metrics. But essentially, once you get your metrics, the guidelines, the autonomy, then those men go and do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they get home. Okay, boom, let's do X, Y, and Z. And now they have someone saying constantly, well, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? Do you think women should go about it to the man that you're saying they're willing to submit to, that's a true leader, picking and choosing what things they need input in? Or do you think that they should have a say-so in everything? Because we're looking at the quality of the relationship too.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think that it is picking and choosing because we don't have time to be doing all of that. That I would see that as, I need you to be great in the areas that I think it's just the important big ones that we should have those. Other ones, no. So I agree. Picking and choosing. Always.
Okay.
They always say pick your battles.
Okay. And the big ones though, we often, so you want to have input in like the big decisions?
And I keep saying input, it's more of just the knowledge of if there is even a way for me to input, then yes. Sometimes there's no need for me to input, but at least I know what's going on.
Okay.
If a ball drops, maybe I'm able to, go in and dive in, not hurt my shoulder to kind of like, you see what I did there?
Wow. Come in the fucking bedroom. Get him out of here. Come on.
But you never know if I need to
like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Hit that like button right now if you can. That helps the channel the most. There'll be no shoulder jokes today. God damn it.
Sorry.